everyone, and welcome back to Cute Claws with Kelly. I first of all just wanted to explain why you haven't seen a video from me for the last 2 weeks, and that's because I've been away and on vacation with my family. But I'm back, and this video is going to do an infill on my daughter. So you'll see that I'm not going to take off or soak off all of her current dip powder. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to file it down all the way. So I do always put a clear coat of dip down at the bottom. And basically, I'm just going to work to take off all of the colored dip on each fingernail, getting down to that clear base coat. And then I'm going to build from there. So going in with my coarse drill bit for my e-file and just working away, and I'm not going to show you every single nail. I'm just going to try to keep it short, but I'm just going to let you watch for a little while as I work to take that off, and I'll jump back in a little bit. I did want to just jump right back in here to let you guys know a couple of things to keep in mind when you're using the coarse drill bit and you're taking off the dip powder. You want to make sure that you are keeping your drill moving and you're not applying too much pressure in the same spot. Otherwise it will get hot on the nail and you could injure yourself or someone else if you're doing someone else's nails. So you don't want to work in one spot for too long. You want to just kind of keep the drill moving around. And then the other thing you should note is that I am not touching her natural nail with this coarse drill bit, as it's way too coarse for her natural nail. So I'm really just sticking to taking the dip off. And I mean, it could go a little bit faster, I suppose, if I was to turn my drill up and have it rotate faster. But I just don't want to hurt her. So it takes a little bit of time here for me to take off all of the dip, and obviously the video is sped up. But I take my time with it to make sure that I'm not hurting her and I'm not gonna hurt the natural nail. So I just wanted to throw that little bit of wisdom your way, and I'll let you continue watching. Sorry, just one more thing that I wanted to note here during this process when you're going to do, like I am, with kind of an infill versus soaking all of the old dip off and starting with a clean nail plate, is when you are working to take the colored the colored dip powder off, and you're leaving that like clear base down at the first layer, if you notice any spots where there's been some lifting, you want to work to remove those spots. So normally you can tell where it looks like it's lifting, and when you run the edge of the drill over that little section, it's just going to kind of chip away. And I would recommend doing that carefully, maybe turning your drill down a little bit, and then working to remove those lifted pieces versus clipping them off, because when you work with clippers or nippers and you're trying to clip it off, it can cause cracks, it can cause more lifting. So you really just want to use your drill lightly on those edges to kind of get any of those lifted spots off. So now you see me come in with my sanding band, and this is, I think, a 240 grit sanding band. It was one of the attachments that I received with my drill that you saw me take out of the little red case. And what I'm doing with this is I'm just gonna clean up the area around that, her old dip basically. And this sanding band will help to get rid of any of those rough corners. It'll smooth it down a little bit so that it's even with her natural nail. It'll further help to remove any of those edges that may have lifted. And then it also, I kind of brush over her natural nail with this quickly just to rough up her natural nail, because the new dip that I'm going to apply over this, it needs to have that nail roughed up just to have something to adhere to. So again, just doing that really quickly on the nail so that I'm not gonna take off, too much of her natural nail. It's really just to remove the shine on the natural nail and then to clean up the area where the old dip meets the nail. And then you're gonna see here that I'm pushing back her cuticles. And then I'm gonna go in with my little round cuticle remover drill bit, and that is going to further remove any of the cuticle that's attached to the nail plate. And then here it is, this little one right here, this little green guy. And I find that this works better than nipping the cuticles if you can avoid nipping the cuticles. I think that when you nip the cuticles, you're creating kind of a platform for more rough cuticles to grow. And so this little drill bit, I think, helps prevent that. However, you will see that I do come in with the cuticle nippers just to kind of nip away the areas that the cuticle is like kind of lifted away from the rest of her finger and her skin, and it's like waving, standing up and waving, and I just really work to nip off those things. I really try not to nip very much off. So if you have easy to work with cuticles, this drill bit here may be all that you need. And then you see that I go over where the old dip meets her natural nail with this tool as well. Again, further just removing any of those areas where there might have been lifting, because I really don't want to encapsulate with a new layer of dip any areas that may have lifted, because then you can actually create areas where water may get in, and then if it gets trapped in there, it's gonna, basically breed bacteria, and that's when you get that green spot on your nail, which is called a greenie. And so I'm really just trying to avoid that. It's something that you need to be really careful and make sure that you prep really well when you're doing like an infill, to make sure that you don't have that happen. So I will just let you watch my process here, and I'll come back in a little while. Okay, great. So now that we've got the nail all prepped and ready, we are ready to apply the new layers of dip. So for her, I am just going to go in with 3 new layers of the clear dip powder, which is, I'm using Revel Vivian. And the reason that I'm just doing clear over her gorgeous natural long nails is she wanted to go with a pale yellow color. And I didn't have a pale yellow dip color, so she chose to use one of the gel polishes that I have from Gellen. And so I'm just going to make sure that the nail is nice and strong. So I already kind of have the 3/4 dip on her nails from the old dip. And then now with this, with these new layers of dip, I'm just going to, do 3 full dips of the clear. So right now I'm going in with my Rossi Step 1, which is the prep, the primer, and it dehydrates the nail. It's going to take away any of the oils or contaminants that are left on the nail. And then I'm going to go in with my favorite base, my triple vitamin. And then I'm going to use the Rossi activator at the end. So I will let you watch this portion, and then I will jump back in a little while. Hey guys, so I do just want to mention that I typically will do 4 layers of dip. And even if I was doing a color, my method is that I typically will do the first layer in clear, because that gives me the option to not have to soak off the last set of nails that I did. If I don't want to soak off, then I can do like I did for her, and I can just shave off the color, file off the color, and get down to that clear dip, and then build from there. But I'll always do that base, that first layer of clear, and then if I was doing color, I would do my next 2 dips would be the colors, and then I always do a clear cap on top. So 4 dips is kind of what I'm comfortable with. I think you can get away with doing less for sure. It just depends on, a few different things really. One thing is how long your nails are. I mean, the longer your nails are, the more strength you want to give them, and the more important that building the apex, which is the curvature of the nail, that is more important when you have a longer nail, because again, it's all about the strength and the shape. And then also, if you're working with colors, I find that it usually takes 2 dips in the color to get the right opacity of that color. However, if you wanted, like a more sheer look, then you would need to do 2 dips. And then some colors are very opaque, like just with 1 dip. So it really is more of a preference thing for you and what you're comfortable with. Again, even on short nails, I would do 4 dips. And that's just, my method, and what works in my mind. So feel free to experiment with that. Now I'm going in with the activator, and I'm using the Rossi activator, and this is what's going to make the nail hard and turn into like a hard acrylic. And I do put 2 coats of activator on each nail, and then I let that dry for a good few minutes. I'll go back in after it's dried to kind of just give it a quick tap, and as long as I hear that it's hard and it's making like a clicking noise, then kind of like this, if you can hear this, then that's how I know that it's ready to be filed. So getting into the filing, I'm just gonna go back to my red case of drill bits that came with my drill, and I'm gonna use this cylinder. I'm not sure what the grit on this is. It didn't say when I bought the drill, but I like it because it's very fine, and it's not a sharp edge of the bit, and so it makes it perfect for getting right up into that crevice between where I laid the dip down and went around with the cuticle stick, and then her cuticle. So I just kind of file around there. That's where I mainly focus, is just kind of blending down that area. And then I do a little bit of filing over the rest of the nail just to contour it and get the right shape. And really, even if you apply your dip kind of thick in some places, or you aren't really happy with the shape, the filing is what can save you. It'll take you a little bit longer, sure, but you just file until you get the shape of the nail that you like. And as you get better with more practice in dipping, you'll find that you need to file less and less because your layers are just so perfectly even. So I just go through really quick over the rest of the nail, concentrating on the cuticle area. And I'm not going to show you every nail. I'm just going to kind of speed through this. But after I go over it with the e-file, then I come in with the hand file. So you'll see that here in a minute, and I'll be right back. with the hand file, I'm really just concentrating on the free edge and the side walls. I do go over the whole nail a little bit with the hand file as well, just to again make sure the shape is right and the contouring, especially on the side walls, is correct. And I don't use the hand file very long. Most of the filing work that I do is with the e-file just because it goes faster. You definitely don't need an e-file, especially if you're a beginner and you don't feel comfortable using an e-file. A hand file works fine too. But you know, if you're doing nails a lot, I would recommend looking into getting an e-file, and that way it'll speed up that process for you a little bit. And you can always start, you know, small and go slowly with the e-file, and then, you know, kind of work your way up to maybe a higher speed that you're comfortable with, and go from there. Now that I've got her all filed up and I've, you know, removed all the dust from her nails with a alcohol wipe, now I'm going to go in with the color. So I'm using Modelones base and top coat, and then I've got the Gellen pale yellow color that she liked. Now, I probably should have gone in with a layer of white gel polish before I put the yellow, because the yellow was just so sheer, and you'll see that in a minute when I go to put that on. It's just very sheer, and I ended up, I think, having to do like 3 layers of that yellow. So that would be 5 layers of polish total, to include the base and the top coat. And I think I could have probably cut that down, or at least given the yellow color more opacity if I had put down a white layer of polish first, just to kind of help that yellow to stand out a little brighter. So that might be one recommendation that I would have when you're using these sheer colors, like this pale yellow, is to maybe go in with a white base first. But I mean, at the end of it, it looked good. You could kind of still see, like, you know, the white tips of her natural nail through. But it looked nice, and she was happy with it, so we just kind of left it at that. But that would be one thing that maybe I would do different next time using these pale colors, is bring in that white gel color. So I'm not going to show you polishing every nail. I'm just going to show you these 2. I don't show you all the different layers that I do with this yellow either, but just know that I did end up having to do 3 layers of just the yellow on its own. So I will come back at the end and show you the finished look, and we'll talk about, you know, a little bit more then. So I am back, and we're not quite done yet, because she decided that she wanted to do a stamp as one of her accent nails on her ring finger. So taking this Born Pretty stamping plate, she liked the leaves, and she picked out this teal color here. I think it's number 18, and it looked really pretty against that pale yellow color. So it took me a few tries to pick up the stamp the way that I liked it on my my like little jelly stamper, and I had to do it a few times over, and that's how stamping goes. Sometimes you don't get it perfect in the first shot, and I didn't do a very good job of showing it on camera, but you can see through this tool right here, the actual stamper tool, and you can kind of line it up on the nail the way you like it before you actually push it down onto the nail. So I'll try to do better next time I do stamping in a video to show you that, what it looks like, you know, if you were looking through it. But I'm just now gonna go in and push it down, And the thing with the stamping polish, it is a special polish. It is meant specifically for this purpose, and it dries super quick. So it's pretty much dry the second that it picks it up on the stamping tool. And then when you lay it down on the nail, I just kind of go over it with my finger to push it down to make sure that it's all the way down on the nail. And then I'm going to go in just with some acetone and clean up the sides. Some people use like a glue. It's some kind of cuticle, like it's like a sticky stuff that you kind of put around so that you can just peel it off instead of having to go in and clean up with the acetone. But I just find it's, you know, easy to do with the acetone. Sometimes it doesn't come off as great. Like if you have a super dark color like black, can sometimes leave a little bit of residue on the skin even after cleanup. But you know, that wears off, you know, after you've washed your hands a few times. So I use this method, but I do know that there's that sticky stuff that you can kind of like lay down around your nail that you just peel off. So that might be something that you could look into. And then I just kind of cleaned up like the free edge of her nail. I didn't want any stamp kind of overlapping that free edge. And then now I'm just going to go in with another coat of the clear top coat to encapsulate that stamp that I put down. And the reason that I did a clear top coat before I stamped her nail is because if you mess up on the stamp, you can just easily wipe it off with acetone. And then also like if you don't put the clear top coat on, then you've kind of got like a sticky gel surface. So it just makes it easier. But this is the finished look. I really was happy with the way that it came out. Again, I think the yellow and the teal color looks so cute together, very summery. And then I'm going to do what I always do and finish off with some cuticle oil from Candi Skincare on her nails. I love this product. There's a whole bunch of different scents available. And I just feel like it really nourishes the cuticles and the nails. So I always finish off with this, and then I recommend putting this stuff on at least a few times a week. I personally try to do it before I go to bed every night, just because it does keep your cuticles from taking over your finger if you have that problem like I do as your nail grows out. And then also it stimulates growth. So it's very important to use the cuticle oil. And I didn't know about Candi Skincare right away, but once I found out about it, there's no going back to any other product for me. That's how much I love it. So this is it. Again, really happy with the way this turned out. Really impressed with my daughter's length on her nail. She was a nail biter, and now look at her. She no longer bites her nails. We've been doing her nails since February with the dip system, and it just has come out so great for her. I'm so proud of her. But you know, thanks so much for checking this video out. I hope that you found it to be helpful, and I'll see you in my next vid. Thanks. Bye-bye.